Hello and welcome to Buying and Beyond, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of retail buying. We're Kate and Linz, and together we have over 30 years experience in retail.
We'll be talking all things retail buying and beyond, so grab your drink of choice and come and have a giggle with us.
So, morning, we are well into September now. It's not quite the Indian summer we were hoping for.
No, it's not, is it actually? It's been interspersed with hot days, which has been really weird since I put my summer wardrobe away. And then being out the other day we were out when we got completely burnt because we had no idea the sun was going to be that strong.
Burnt my back. And then obviously it's just been absolutely chucking it down because, hey, that's what this year's all about. Rain. In fact, that's interesting, isn't it?
That's a trend.
I was just going to say that.
The trend has been rain.
The trend has been rain.
Oh, no. That's really not good for the garden centre industry.
It's funny, actually, because that really coincides with what we're going to talk about today. So, so today we thought we'd talk about new trends. It's the season for a trade show, Fashion Week, new stock in the stores. So, to start, trade shows.
Yes. And they all seem to happen at once, don't they? It's quite a flurry of trade shows. So from sort of early August through to late September.
It can be a really intense month.
Yeah, intense couple of months, really. I mean, there's a few in August, small ones, but then you get into September and like that 2-week period is just really hectic, especially for the exhibitors. I mean, I think often when I go to certain trade shows and you think, oh my gosh, it was such an exhausting couple of days, but they're packing down to then pack off to another one, aren't they?
Oh, and building their sets. There's been actually some really, really great behind the scenes reels and videos and things on Instagram this season, particularly, with lots of people showing the effort that goes into building those stands, because you turn up and you're like, oh my God, wow. And if you see one that hasn't really made an effort, you're like, you didn't really do much here, did you? But you don't really think about actually how much time and effort and also money
it's
for thousands that people spend to make their stands look good. But it does draw you in, so it's a bit of a...
It's definitely a good investment, I think. And especially when everybody's wanting to take pictures and share them on social media, you know, it's good exposure for your brand, isn't it?
Even that's changed, I feel like previously when we've been... and you've been like wanting to take a photo, you've kind of almost felt like if you've asked, you've kind of felt a bit uncomfortable. If you've tried to take one sneakily, you feel a bit awkward. And sometimes it's just for reference, just to remember who they are. But people are quite like overprotective of it. Completely, I do understand. But I think it was a bit like with shops and things and comp shopping and stuff. It used to be a lot more difficult to take a picture. You'd take your big camera out, wouldn't you? And you'd be like trying to sneak it out your pocket. We've talked about that before.
Gosh, being ushered out of Topshop.
Yeah. Whereas now...
Or a security guard.
I'm just a student. Give me a break. But now, with the rise of smartphones and things like that, one, it's taking pictures is so much easier because it is so much more discreet if you're doing a comp shop. But also... people are more relaxed about it because it is just for sharing, and actually I think people have seen the power of sharing pictures and sharing posts, and actually it's great free advertising if someone takes a photo, puts it on their social media and tags you in it. Brilliant. But obviously on the other hand, there are so many small businesses that you see that have been copied. Suddenly they're seeing their styles or on Alibaba or wherever. And, or God, dare we say it, but like Temu or Shein, like suddenly they're seeing...
Don't they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but not in that sense.
But not when they're doing it, super, super cheap with really poor materials, really poor quality. They've stolen your idea and they're selling it off dirt cheap and they're making loads of money off you.
Yeah.
I know. It's hard, isn't it? Because you do always say that
inspiration and, blatant copying is really hard for brands, isn't it?
It's the blatant copying that can be really hard. Anyway, we completely digress. We're talking about trends and social media and things like that, which makes it so much easier to get your hands on things.
For sure. So in terms of trade shows, then obviously we're just going to name a few here that have always been on our radar. So recently we've come across the Scottish Trade Fair in August, which I went to, which was great.
Yes.
Some really, really lovely homegrown brands there. Got chatting to a few people and some real amazing talent and in like entrepreneurship, which was brilliant from that show. We've obviously also got Spring Fair in Birmingham,
which is you do it every year, don't you? And every year you have to prepare yourself for it, because
all the halls.
Yeah, you're not going to see daylight for quite a few hours. And that's where I feel really sorry for the exhibitors, or not sorry for, but like I just feel like, oh good God. But I do hear that they do have some good parties.
Yeah, I've always
they celebrate finally getting out of the hall.
Yeah, and
at the end of the day,
set building for sure. But
actually, they normally give you like a nice cheeky prosecco or something if you're there, kind of towards the end of the day.
Yeah,
and they're waning, bless them, and they need a little pick me up. Yeah. Not all of them, obviously, drinking on the job, but I don't blame them. Yeah,
absolutely. And then obviously we have Top Drawer,
one of my faves.
We went to, didn't we, this year, which was really good to go together. It's been a dream of ours to go together to a trade show, isn't it?
Yeah,
because we've not been working together for such a long time.
We've not done that. That was really great to walk around and see it, and I just love the venue. Like it's because it's so light and airy. And it was really sunny as well, which makes a difference. The sun's like shining in, just puts you all in a good mood, doesn't it? And there's just so many beautiful products as well.
For sure.
And it's funny because there's so many of them. Like when you stand at the top and you look down, there's an absolute sea of them, aren't there? And you're just like, my gosh, there's so
much creativity under one roof.
Yeah, so many people to see. And it's funny actually, because I think we chatted to a few people that had been there actually for a few years, but it was the first time I'd noticed them. But I think that's partly because there are so many stands, and I also think the more times you exhibit, the more confident you are. You can kind of tell the ones that have been there a few times because they're so chatty and engaging, whereas if it's your first time, it can be quite hard to maybe know who to speak to, who not to. Do you say hi? Do you just stand back? Do you sell your product? I really enjoyed the conversations that we had with people where they were just telling us about the product in a non-pitchy way.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I
just
totally
tell me about your stuff.
And I think it was interesting, wasn't it, when we went round, and lots of trade shows now have the pitch section, don't they, where they've got to pitch to buyers that the trade show organisers have brought in on a stage. Yeah. And quite a few of them were really apprehensive about it, weren't they? And so it wasn't like their natural way to present the product. Yeah. Obviously it's a really good thing to do, really good skill to learn, and a great exposure for them on that platform. But it was just interesting, like you say, they've come across so much more passionate
about their product when they're in their stands.
When they're on their stand and just in their environment and
surrounded by their product and in their comfort zone. It's funny though, because I hadn't seen them do a pitch session on the stage before. Like their stages are so good, and I think we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? And you were saying, gosh, like Top Drawer has really changed. Well, not just Top Drawer, trade shows have really changed and really developed because they now have all of these really interesting talks. And you rarely have time to actually go to them, but if you can make time to go to them, I remember going to one at Spring Fair years and years and years ago, and I was there sourcing brands, and looking for trends and things like that. But there was a talk, and I think it was from the founder or a director or CEO. I can't remember who was speaking in particular, but it was for Green and Blacks. And I just saw it come up, and I happened to be near the stage at that point. And I was like, oh, I'm really interested in their story, actually. It's only a half an hour. I'll sit and I'll eat my sandwich while I listen. So I went and sat down. They actually all got a free little chocolate bar.
Oh, fantastic.
I was like, if there was ever a talk to turn up to, this was the right one.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I found it really interesting, really insightful. And after that, I thought, you know what? Yes, I'm there to go and look at brands. Yes, I'm there to go and have appointments with certain brands that I'm working with. And yes, I'm there to look at new trends, but actually just immersing yourself in the retail world and starting to learn other people's stories and understand how that's also a really useful skill.
Totally.
I think you should try, if you can, make time for a talk or two if you can.
Yeah, exactly. Trade shows have changed so much since we've been going to them, though, haven't they? And they're so much more, not just about the brands that are exhibiting. They're about education, teaching about sustainability. Even there's always some sort of like academy section, like a top drawer. They had the
business hub.
Yeah, business hub. But they also had like the university graduates.
I love that now. That's really new, isn't it? That's been
products. That was really great to see.
Past couple of years maybe, but that never used to be there. That's really exciting. Like they're definitely not set up for full on trading with big retailers.
Yeah.
But the innovation that they have and the ideas and the creativity.
Because that almost gets a little bit lost when you start to get into the full throes of a realistic business, right?
Yeah, because
so it's nice to see them in their raw form.
You have to start thinking about minimums and how do I mass produce rather than a bit like when we were watching M&S, because I think everybody in the retail world wanted to have a look at that. Was it? I keep calling it Dress to Impress, but it's not. What is it?
Dress the Nation.
Dress the Nation. I just don't think it's quite as catchy. But at the same time, after watching it, I'm not sure you are really dressing to impress. Oh no, that sounds really awful. That sounds really awful. But as in like some of the craftsmanship, like the dress in the first episode.
Yeah, that was stunning.
The
tailoring on that was amazing.
Really, really impressive. But you were sitting there going, how are you going to make that in mass production?
Yeah, I did, didn't I? But then I was a bit like, oh, just stop it. Just stop thinking like that.
But it is, because it's different to sewing bee, although, again, we were saying this morning, like, it does feel it's that sort of vibe. Sewing bee, Great British Bake Off kind of
it is,
setup, isn't it, or formula.
Yeah.
But then with the M&S bit on it, but where sewing bee feels like it's more unique one-off pieces, and it is just like it's a showcase on craftsmanship. This feels like it is not just a search for a designer, but this designer needs to be commercial, because the pieces that you need to make will need to go into production, unless they're just going to do short runs on it. But it doesn't make commercial sense.
No, it doesn't, does it?
But I mean, it was beautiful handicraft, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a great idea for a programme.
But I'd probably wear that to a wedding.
Not
in that colour.
Yeah, not in that colour, yeah. But see you glaring at me like, you dare wear that colour to my wedding.
Yeah, but it was beautiful. But where would you wear it to?
Yeah, exactly.
It was a gorgeous statement dress. Anyway, sorry, I digress from trade shows.
You do, but we saw some fantastic products there, didn't we? And we met some amazing people, and there was a really brilliant trend company called the Better Trends Company. They were really amazing, weren't they? The way that they curated their trends together.
Yeah, so they've been doing that now for quite a few years, they said, haven't they? And it's always been my favourite area. And I'm pretty sure they always do 3 trends. Mm-hmm. Which is great, because we love the number 3. We always do top 3 things, don't we? Mm-hmm. So we're very aligned with them in that.
Yeah.
No, but I really loved it. I loved seeing mushrooms.
Yeah, I mean, I've been championing mushrooms from a Christmas point of view for a few years,
and they're not going anywhere.
Ahead of my time, you know.
Well, they were absolutely everywhere last year as well, weren't they? Like, you could not move for mushrooms.
You couldn't.
So it's quite nice to know that they're having another season. You're not having to reinvent the wheel like we've talked about with
unicorns.
They're having another
season.
Oh my God, what's the new unicorn? I think unicorns are still big now. Will the unicorn ever go away? Who knows?
I think it'll still be there in some form. I think it's as strong as it was, but...
Well, I don't know as strong as it was, because it really did do silly sales, but I do feel like it's now part of your general makeup, like... it's a cat. Do you know what I mean? If you had to have like your core characters, it's a unicorn.
Do you know the funnest fact that I found out was that the unicorn is the animal of Scotland?
I was going to say, oh my God, I didn't know that. But as you were saying it, I did know that. I did know
animal
that.
Of Scotland.
Yeah,
I was shocked. Who knew? But yeah, we saw some great products, didn't we? So lots of sustainable items.
That was really nice, seeing people going down that route more and more and more, because like we need everybody to be going down that route in order to make a change. It's not enough for just one or two.
Yeah.
Like every business really needs to be from the ground up, needs to be thinking about how can their products be produced more sustainable.
And even just new manufacturing techniques, new materials, lots of new materials.
Oh gosh, we were wowed by that. The lady that had just graduated from Central.
Yeah,
and
St. Martin's. Yeah.
She was doing some phenomenal sort of woven textures with it was rice, wasn't it? Rice.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And she was making these just absolutely beautiful woven products.
Yeah, woven materials.
Oh, she had the eggs as well in the so it was almost like a gift box, but then the gift box was biodegradable.
Yes.
I loved that.
Yeah. Just getting out there and having those chats with people were great. And we saw some fantastic jewellery brands, which is obviously very close to our heart. Met with some amazing people that have been running those brands for such a long time. And yeah, it was a great place to connect and, you know, have some really interesting chats with fascinating new brands and seeing their journeys. And yeah, we thoroughly enjoyed it, didn't we?
We're moving on.
Then the last one.
The shows, right?
There is lots of other shows, but the last one worth a mention is obviously Glee that happened in Birmingham, which is a garden trade show. And Glee and Spring Fair, they now have a sauce section, which is really interesting, which is where lots of, I think obviously this has been happening for some years now, but it's nice that they've now put a marketing spin on it. So they're calling it Sauce Garden and Sauce Home and Gift. And it's where all the factories can come in and exhibit direct buyers rather than just being brands. But yeah, like I'm sure you're just going to say, rather than just having their own hall. And I
was going to say, having their own hall, which was international.
Yeah.
Which I think it was just called international.
Yeah. So it's nice that it's got like a bit more, feels like they've been a bit more considered in the organisers and they've put a nice spin on it, and it's a nicer introduction to some buyers that might not be used to going and finding new factories and things like that. So I think that's really interesting to see that they're doing that. And they also had a really interesting concept at their show called the Talent Store.
Talent Store, I like that.
So Talent Store was launched in 2023. And it's basically
super recent.
Yeah, very recent. It's in association with the Garden Centre Association. It's a crash course in visual merchandising, branding and retail, giving participants the chance to learn from experts across the retail industry. So they had this really great idea for the show where they would select 12 students to participate in a full-day retail boot camp. And then they were chosen... Then they were put into two groups where they worked together to come up with an original concept for a pop-up store. The groups had a tiny budget and their focus was on recycling and upcycling to create a physical pop-up store. So they then showcased these pop-up stores at Glee, and a winner was chosen, and the chosen theme was Urban Oasis. And they described this as a place to unwind and transport visitors into a space that showed how houseplants can create and transform urban spaces. Really interesting concept, isn't it? I think that's really nice. And that goes back to my point of like trade shows aren't just about exhibitors anymore. They're about lots of different things going on, lots of different education methods, you know, business startup help for brands that want to get on the journey of growth. There's lots of small consultancies out there milling around. You got the business hub, like you mentioned, at Top Drawer. It's just such a different world now. Trade
You're not just having buyers going there to place orders on the spot.
Yeah, and I think they've had to do that since COVID, haven't they? Because it's so expensive for a brand to exhibit at a trade show that a lot of them weren't doing it after COVID because
they
managed to get their buyers into their showrooms or on a virtual tour, etc., etc. So yeah, all these organisers had to turn around and offer much more of a wealth of an experience, and I think they are night and day from 16 years ago when I used to go and see them. So yeah, it's an interesting experience now.
I love going.
Yeah, same.
Do you know what also I love doing? Going around the shops in September.
Oh yes, we had a quick deep dive in the shops, didn't we? Deep dive.
We did have a little shopping experience. It was a good little gal's day out.
Yes.
Sometimes you need that, and especially like we need to refresh your wardrobe. Like you say, particularly if you put your summer wardrobe away, you're needing to fill it quick with some autumn stuff. I
definitely don't need to do that, but
sure you can bring out last year's stuff.
I was trying to do the rule of 5 this year. I mean, I think it's now turned into the rule of 10.
I'm going to do rule of 5 for 2025.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that.
I've just put it in my head of like, failed a little this year, try better next year. In fact, 2025, the rule of 5 rhymes. I'm all about.
Rolls off the tongue.
It does. It makes me feel comfortable. 2024 rule of 5 just was too much of a mouthful for me. So next year...
You couldn't even say it then.
I couldn't even say it. Exactly.
Love that.
So, what were we loving? What were your favourite things? I like burgundy, like a fine wine.
Yes, and there was still so much leopard print, animal print around, wasn't there? I've got friends that hilariously, they wouldn't even plan their wardrobes together, but they turn up in the office head to toe in leopard. And I think my friend who was head of the team, she'd managed to sort of influence the whole team, because I think one day the whole team turned up in leopard, and they
Once
were just
a leopard, always a leopard. A leopard never changes their spots.
Exactly. But they love a bit of leopard, so that's definitely.
I really like leopard print. I do love a bit of leopard, but I've always been like, it would always be more of a top or an accessory or a jacket or something.
Yeah.
But there's so many leopard print trousers now, and like a few friends have been wearing them.
True.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
A few friends have been wearing them at sort of like last year and the year before, like one or two, like kind of creeping through, like just sneaking in a little leopard true. But this year...
that all rhymes.
Did it?
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
That's brilliant.
Poet, she didn't know it. But this year, almost every store seems to have a version of a leopard trouser. And even my mum sent me a WhatsApp the other day with a picture, like from a magazine, of a pair of leopard trousers, like saying, "I'm thinking these, what do you think?"
Your mum?
My mum.
Oh,
I was like,
my
I love
Lord.
them, mum. Like, I love
Go
them so
for
much.
it,
I was going to
Mum.
wear them, but you go for it, mum. But yeah.
It's like what they were saying on the M&S thing, you've got to have
Yes.
items in your wardrobe now for your mum and your daughter.
Yeah.
And your son, potentially,
Yeah, we're all wearing it.
We're all gender neutral.
So true. I'm also really loving that that green colour that's continued from summer into winter.
Yeah.
I mean, I do love it. I get put off by the green slightly when I think brat.
Yeah.
It's a brat summer, but I just love the green tone. Like that kind of like olivey, zesty.
I felt like there was 2 layers to it. There was the sort of like muted down olivey, really chic green, and then there was still the cyber limey
and the zesty.
That's such a good word to describe it. Zesty, tangy,
which you can with the right accessories and other kind of like clothing items, you can make work for you for summer or winter. Like it's a really nice tone.
Yeah, I mean, I bought that zesty limey jumper, didn't I? And I'm planning on wearing that, with all throughout the winter. I think people
brighten it
are
up.
wanting some colour in winter now, aren't they? Which is really great to see.
Totally. And actually, that's something that I love about the better trends that we're talking about from Top Drawer, is there's often like dual tones.
Yeah.
Like they do really pull out like the hot pink with the orange and the red and the blue with the turquoise. Like the colours like really pop and they draw you in. But yeah, I'd agree. I love a bright coloured jumper.
Yeah.
I think I've got one almost all the colours of the
rainbow.
Of the rainbow.
Yeah, you do.
And then Anthro, they had some beautiful mix of patterns, like the florals with the geos.
Yes.
And like bright colours, like still those dual tones, but in like a real autumnal way. I love their homeware.
Yeah, and even Next had some autumnal homeware, didn't they? Like
the mushroom diffuser.
The mushroom diffuser was one of our favourite things.
Stunning.
But it's really nice to sort of see that there is a little bit of a season for that now in homeware. There's that sort of transitional fall, autumn, doesn't have to be full on novelty Halloween. There's like that like nice
it's
kind
really
of gentle.
It's really American.
Yeah, very
though,
American. Very
like,
American.
Dressing your house for autumn.
But I think it's coming through. Like you see people putting wreaths on the doors now.
I don't know
things like that.
anyone, although I know you're going to say me, I don't know anyone that doesn't have like a pumpkin, like some sort of plush pumpkin in a different fabrication.
Yes, that's such a bestseller, isn't it? A plush pumpkin.
Plush pumpkin, or like a Borg finish, or like a Tweedy.
Yeah, you can see that through all the shops.
They were absolutely everywhere. Like,
yeah,
how many pumpkins is too many pumpkins?
Not enough, I don't think. But I think also, I mean, we were only in the shops a couple of weeks ago, and people are already bringing out their Christmas fragrances.
They are.
Which is interesting to see, isn't it? I think that creeping in so early from a fragrance point of view.
Yeah, often you don't get to that. Like, you get the decks in early because they just do in the big stores, don't they? But you often don't.
Because you can get the tourist trades in.
Yeah, you don't necessarily see the scents.
Yeah.
But I love that.
Yeah.
It makes me start to feel, it's almost like just as it's starting, the evenings are getting darker, and then you have like a whiff of something really like cinnamony.
A whiff.
And you're like, yeah, that puts me back in a happy place. I think I said before, you know, I am a tree up 1st of December, and I'd do it sooner if I could. But yeah, have to just talk about my one favourite item though, that is totally not like colourful or bright or anything, but is very, very winter appropriate. That oil wax trench coat.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, you look great in that. And brown's really having a moment, isn't it? Lots of browns.
I actually think I might go back and get it. I didn't. I resisted because I was like, well, because it was a super hot day. I was like, don't need this. But realistically, let's forward plan.
Yeah, you're going to be in that for a while.
And you know when you have something you just keep thinking of over and over again. And that's the habit I need to get into. It's like, don't buy it. This is my rule of 5, like my rule of 5 rule.
My rule of 5 rule.
Don't buy it when you first see it, which can be difficult because sometimes they might sell out. Well,
that it wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be. Exactly, it wasn't meant to be. What's for you won't go
by you. I live and die by that
This
rule.
saying can be applied in many, many places.
Absolutely.
But if I keep thinking about something over and over and over and over and over again, and it keeps coming back to me, that is the one. But let's not buy 5 coats. It's not essential. You buy 1 coat.
Yeah, you do.
And that's the one that you wear. Because we are still championing Rule of 5 2025.
We are.
Anyway, we're talking so much about fashion and home and everything.
Yeah, but in the moment right now, but then looking at next year.
Yes. So when we're talking about autumn winter, fashion weeks are happening, and I think it probably feels a bit like, a bit of a jump for like consumers and for customers when you're reading articles and you're seeing things all about fashion weeks and they're talking about spring summer 25 and you're like, hold on, I'm not having winter yet.
Hang on a minute.
Hold up. But if you're a buyer, you know that you're already working on like what? Spring summer 2026?
Yeah.
So you're like, guys, okay. Like, it's almost like a sense check, I always found, like fashion weeks. Like, am I going in the right direction? Is there anything that major that we've missed that we need to hop on? Are there any micro trends that we could like, you know, touch base on? Because by this point, there's as a large retailer, there's not a huge amount of change you can really make when you're thinking about spring summer 25, especially because our seasons are so skewed and the time in which you'll be looking to bring it in. So production well underway. So I've got a couple of favourite things that I've seen that
What's
really
been
made
your favourite things from the show so far?
That's really made me laugh. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
The Alexander McQueen hoof boot. I can't say it. Alexander McQueen hoof boot.
The Alexander McQueen hoof boot. Please elaborate.
So they've called it a wonderfully wacky boot. Right?
Okay.
It's basically like a black boot, but it's got a ponytail at the back.
Oh my god.
So you're walking along, swishing your tail out the back of your boot.
That is crazy.
Have you ever seen anything
so crazy?
Yay or nay?
I'm gonna say nay.
Nay?
Nay.
Really makes me laugh.
It's like a horse's tail.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't it, Josh?
That is quirky.
That really, really, really made me laugh. And then in terms of what I was loving from London Fashion Week, I mean Erdem. But Erdem, I think,
I do love Erdem
is
as a brand.
It is, as a brand, and it's, for me, it's really synonymous with spring summer. Like
well,
whatever
there's lots
they
of
do,
fringing, isn't there?
So
which
much
was coming
fringing.
through from New York Fashion Week.
And the crochets.
Oh, the crochets are so stunning, aren't they?
And I like that because we've had quite a lot of crochet this season, but like with like large florals and all sorts of different coloured crochets. But the
and
crochet,
the Lurexy Crochet.
Yeah.
I do love it.
The crochet with the tassels
Mhm.
isn't, for me, isn't something I've really seen before, and I'm really loving from that. But you know what I am loving is their sequin on their tulle, and they had their bras out, which is not good for larger busted ladies.
No.
It's definitely not a trend that I'm going to be rocking. But I did love the loose tulle, and I loved tassels still, but of like almost like lurexy tassels of sequins.
Yeah, I mean that's what I read, that there was so much more fringing, and it wasn't necessarily about fringing off the bottom of a hem. It was about fringing off any point on the item of clothing, and using the same fabric as the clothing for the fringe.
For the fringe, yes, which is like that with the crochet. It's kind of almost like then
so
almost like, I say crochet. It's like more like a macrame dress.
Macrame.
And then
macrame used to be massive where we were first inducted into this industry,
because it was like the key festival bag to have, wasn't it?
Yes.
And one of the other things I loved from Erdem were with the kind of the jewels and sparkle, which I really did love, like the intricacies of it on their kind of like pastel-y tones. They'd like really like lovely mint greens and like soft pinks, as well as the zesty lime steel and hot pinks. But my God, not quite the tassel hoof shoe, but they had chunky like silver brogues with like huge silver tassels on.
That's really interesting.
Which I feel is a much easier way to do the hoof boot, in a much more like, it's a nod to the hoof boot.
That's a nod to the hoof boot. This hoof boot is hilarious. I read that heels are out. There was a lot more flats out there.
I can't remember the last time I wore a heel.
To be fair, I'm the same, and I am teeny tiny.
And you're a heel kind of gal.
I am a heel kind of gal, but I am more into flats maybe it's age, I don't know. But
I look for comfort these days.
Yeah, I look for comfort for sure. But and the last thing from me, which I'm very happy about, because I like this kind of look, is there's still a lot of sporty jackets, sporty look out there, which is really good, because obviously athleisure's been around for a long time.
I think once we kind of moved into athleisure being kind of like being able to wear basically your pajamas but out on the streets.
Yeah, or your yoga clothes.
Once you start, it's going to be really hard to go back from that. Once you really realise you can embrace comfort and be outside in the streets.
Yeah.
Why would you ever want to go back?
Why would you go back?
I think it's a bit like the flats. Once you realise that, do you know what, you could go out to a club and wear a pair of trainers. You're like, why would I ever try and stick my feet in those stilettos again?
Exactly. Although, do people go to clubs these days? I don't know. Anything else from you? Is there any other, apart from your hoof boot? Is there any other?
My hoof boot. I think that was my favourite, actually. I did love the JW Anderson, just because I just loved the silhouettes that they were doing, and like just really oversized,
sculptured, aren't
really
they?
sculptured. It's just really eye-catching, really statement piece. And I also loved the collection for Fendi.
Okay.
I thought actually it kind of resonated with some of the Erdem bits. Just that kind of like sort of bralette thing. I mean, it does make me a little bit nervous because I'm not a bralette kind of gal.
Really?
And it just doesn't work for these at all. I need a lot more support in that area. And I heard the other day someone's sort of talking, there's the whole, with Oasis coming back, people are talking about like 90s Britpop returning.
Yes, I heard about that.
And although we've already got like the cargo trousers and the crop tops, like that's that's a cool kind of cute look. Like I can get on board with that. But they're also talking about this heroin chic look coming back, and this kind of real like more skeletal look, and like
I'm not on board with that.
No, I feel like we've just kind of been into like really getting comfortable with just embracing all sizes of bodies and not having to be like this tiny kind of like, twiggy sort of esque look, or this, Kate Moss when she was so sort of like beautiful, but it's just not achievable for everybody, that kind of look. It's that kind of
healthy.
No, and especially when you get a bit older.
It's not healthy from a actual physical health point of view and from a mental health point of view.
The heroin chic, definitely. It's a hard one, isn't it? Because if you're naturally skinny, you're naturally skinny, and if you're naturally more curvy, you're naturally more curvy. Yeah, and like that will
embrace who you are.
Embrace who you are, and that's what I've really loved. And so it is a little bit as much as I love the 90s nostalgia, and like, you know, festival trends and things like that, I just, that's a little bit red flaggy, isn't it, that we could be going down that route.
Yeah.
Anyway, what about you? Anything else that you wanted
The only
to
other thing that I thought was
bring to the table today?
was the kind of sparkly knits are still there, and I know we saw that coming through from this year.
Love
sequin in the summer, but now it's sparkly knits in the summer. I mean, obviously it could be a really thin knit, thin, sparkly, metallic. Love to see all that coming through from the high street. Right, shall we have some retail therapy?
Oh gosh, some retail therapy.
I think we've got a really funny one this year. This year? We've got a really funny one this episode.
Now this is actually one that hasn't been written in but was told to me by somebody, and I'm going to try and regale it in the best way possible. Obviously no names, etc. And I really hope I do it justice, because it had me absolutely floored. Like, I could not stop laughing. So
and it's a really good example of where buyers try to bring trends in to product categories.
Yeah, so there was a buyer who had this really cool, like, new sunglass shape, and she'd briefed it, and she'd had the sample come in, and I think, as we've talked about before, it's quite good to, like, bring people on the journey with you. So she'd had the sample come in, she'd been super excited, so she'd sort of shown it or flashed it past the buying director, you know, just been like, oh my god, look at this really cool sample that's come in, and he was like, absolutely not, that's awful. And she was like, no, it's so good, it's great. So she proceeded to, I think, probably like do a floor walk to show a few more people, you know.
I love a good floor walk.
So then he was around, he was very much aware that she was really feeling for this shape. And then they got to, like, product review, and she had it in there, and he was still like, no, I'm not for it, we're not doing it, absolutely not, like, it's a no from me, you've tried so many times, no. And then they got to the sign off, and around the same time, this particular buyer who wears glasses had got herself a new pair of glasses, and she was wearing them. And so she's sitting in the meeting, you know, ready to go to a sign off for something completely different, you know, another category or whatever, I think, I can't remember, or maybe it was the same category. Anyway, she's sitting in the room and she's ready for the sign off, and he walks in and he sees her wearing her new glasses that she's loves, like, she's got her new glasses on, and he just looks at her and he's just like, absolutely not, I've told you 100 times now, no, we're not having them, they look awful, take them off now. And she's like, no, but that, and he's like, no, stop it. No, I don't want to hear anything from you. Take them off. And she's like trying to tell him that these are her new glasses that she's bought, and they're not this new trend glass at all. Oh and my god! Absolutely not having any of it. And he's so form. He's just so form. He's so firm.
I've told you once. I've told you twice. Now take them off.
She's going, I'm not going to be able to see a thing. How do I present without my glasses on? Do I listen to him and just take them off, because he's really getting quite irate now, or do I just keep them on and persevere and try and tell him, no, these are my actual glasses? I really hope I've done that story justice, because oh my god,
that's so funny.
Funniest thing.
When you it's, I think
I was crying with laughter.
You were crying with laughter when you first heard that, weren't you? Literally.
Anyway,
wow.
Let's wrap this up. So 3 takeaways.
So I think number 1 would be, trade shows just aren't what they used to be. They are so much more.
Make time to go and listen to a talk.
Absolutely. I think that you're going to get so much more out of a trade show than you ever have done before, as a buyer, as a brand. Make sure you've got enough time to really kind of absorb yourself in all the other things that are going on. And I think to buyers, like, make sure you make time to go to them now, because I think there's so much going on in retail and so many new challenges to face. But these shows are really there to help you with all of that now.
Definitely, I'd agree. Extend your time, like stretch it to be that extra sort of half an hour or whatever that you might need. Have your appointments, go and look at some new products, see the trends, but also just take that quick 15 minutes, half an hour to sit down and absorb yourself in a trend talk or a personal development talk or something. Great. Number 2,
get out to the shops.
Yeah, new season, new stock.
New season, new stock. Go and have a nice, I mean, obviously we all do comp shops, but I think as much as, they say try and get out of the office, try and just spend a couple of hours just wandering through the shops, not doing an intense comp shop, but just sort of wandering through, seeing what the trends are, seeing how everybody's, produced on the same trend.
And I think we said it before, don't necessarily feel like you need to stay in your lane, because actually, as we said before, you'll see trends in homeware, you'll see things in clothing, you'll see things in interiors, you'll see things in accessories.
Gift food, beauty, lots of beauty packaging is amazing to be inspired by.
But yeah, and you'll see that's where I think you really pick up a trend as well, because it's not just sticking in one area, just like I do jumpers, therefore I'm just going to go and look at all the jumpers. Actually, you can really identify a colour trend by looking at all the other garments and looking at all the other product types, and are they doing it in a cushion, and are they doing it, as you say, on a beauty package, or is it on a fruit, on a chocolate box cover, etc. That's when you really start to pick out key commercial trends, things that everybody's picked up on. The more the consumer sees it, the more the consumer's going to want it. And 3, don't be a slave to trends. Just because there is the hoof boot does not mean you need to get the hoof boot or to try and do a hoof boot yourself. I really hope that I don't see hoof boots on the high street.
All these tails off the back of a shoe. Can you imagine it off the back of a mule? The mule hoof.
Exactly. Like, let's take it and think about other things. Like, it's a tassel. I mean, it's the tassel of the shoe, but let's do it in a different way. Like, let's take these trends.
What would our customer want?
Yeah.
As a form of a hoof boot.
Yeah. They're there to kind of, to get conversation going, to interest you, to excite you.
To give you unconstrained thinking as well, like to push your comfort zones with your trends and your thinking, but also commercially bringing it back to who is your customer.
Yeah, stay true to yourself. So we're basically saying stay in your lane, but don't stay in your lane.
Yeah.
I hope that is crystal clear for everybody.
All right.
So next week we will be fully into October and heading into the golden quarter. Christmas, as we said, already in stores. Halloween, full flow. In fact, actually, we should be sold through already. So let's chat about it.
Great. See you next week.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed listening to this episode, please, please, please like and subscribe and leave a review. And if you already have, thank you, thank you, thank you. We all need a bit of retail therapy, and this is the perfect time for you to offload about that super cringeworthy story. We would love to hear from you all, your funny stories and experiences, or even any dilemmas, and maybe we can help, or at least find someone who can. And don't worry, we will keep these anonymous and remove any names and brands.
We would also love to hear from you on any topics you would like us to talk about. Please send all of these into buyingandbeyond@gmail.com or drop us a DM via our Instagram page @buyingandbeyond. Kate, are you a drama queen?
No.
Drama just makes things interesting.
That's true.
All these thoughts and opinions are our own and based on our own experiences working for a wide variety of retailers. These are all in the hope to entertain and educate, and not to reflect negatively on any place we currently or have previously worked.